We're here at go2math.com working some calculus. Let's go down to limits at infinity, and 3-1 we just got through working. So let's look at 3-2. And if you haven't seen 3-1, you need to go back and see how we do that, because I'm not going to go through that whole thing again. All right. Now, um, now this does look like the correct graph. The 3-1, there was a vertical asymptote, but it got kind of skewed in there. So I guess I need to work on that. Anyway, we got the limit as x approaches, this time negative infinity of 4x over the square root of 36x squared minus 3x plus 15. So this time we're heading off in this direction, and what's happening to the graph? Well, it's converging towards 4, 6, I don't know. I'm just looking at that. Alright, so let's write that down and I'll show you how to deal with this. It's pretty simple. If you haven't seen 3-1, you need to take a look at that. Because I go into some detail and refer back to some other problems in solving limits analytically that I'm not going to do in this problem. Okay. However, there is something a little different here. We got a negative infinity. That's something I need to put in some earlier problems, I think. But it's no big deal. Okay. So let's move over to the whiteboard. And let's go ahead and write this down. So we have the limit as x approaches negative infinity of 4x over the square root of 36x squared minus 3x plus 15. Okay? Alright. Okay. Well, this right here looks like it's going to throw a wrench and a monkey wrench into the machine right here, but don't let it mess with you, okay? The way I deal with these negatives here, some textbooks or whatever say that what we have here is when we're going to the right, that means we're going to positive infinity, that we have a right-sided or asymptote and then a left-sided asymptote if we're going to negative infinity. In other words, we're going to have two different horizontal asymptotes. But the best way, the way I deal with this is I'll take this negative right here and just literally bring it out in front of this limit, okay? And then pretend that we're just going to positive infinity. So that's the way I deal with these guys. Anyway, and so what we want to do here is we're going to square the numerator. Okay, so square the numerator, and we end up with 16x squared. And then I'm going to, now I'm skipping a couple steps here. You need to see 3-1 if you haven't already seen it. And then I just take that square root. See, because this piece here square rooted is actually 4x, okay? And then of course we got the denominator, but I will go ahead and square root the whole thing. And actually I'm going to go to infinity and I'm going to bring that negative out front. Okay, I know this looks cockeyed, but now just pretend we're going to infinity, but we're going to multiply our answer by -1. Now what you can do is -1 times, I go ahead and take everything, put everything under the radical. Right, this is all legal now. You won't get a ticket for it, I promise. But they kind of suggest when you have two horizontal asymptotes to do it numerically, but I don't feel like that's necessary. Okay, boy, this is kind of sloppy. Let's just continue this up here. All right, so we worked a problem earlier where both our leading terms, which is 16x squared and 36x squared, they both have the same power. And if they both have the same power, guess what? We just write the coefficients. So we end up with 16 over 36, and then we can go ahead and reduce that down to actually, forget that, negative 1 times the square root of 16 is 4, and the square root of 36 is 6, and then of course this will reduce down to negative 2 thirds, negative 2 thirds. Okay, so this is kind of the awkward thing right here, and that is um, just take this negative, instead of like we're going back in this direction, right, on the x-axis, multiply it by negative 1, works every time, and then pretend we're going back in that direction. All right, and that's what we did. Okay, works every time. Anyway, negative 2 thirds. So if we looked at our graph, so you see here we got some symmetry, and this would be 2 thirds as x approaches infinity, but we just multiply it by a negative, and we're down here at negative 2 thirds, right? And let's hit the answer, make sure everything's good on that, and it is. Okay, so there you go. Come on over, practice that, and I'll see you there at gotomath.com.